Hello there, it's Michelle from C&C Designs. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in New Zealand, and I'm bringing you another Global Monthly Video Hop. So every month, myself and demonstrators from around the world make videos and share with the general public, and I list links to all the other participants in the description below this video, so you can click on those links and hop on over to one of the other videos and see products made with Stampin' Up! Items for the theme that we've chosen. So this month's theme is casing the catalog. So for those of you that don't know what casing means, it's an acronym, C.A.S.E, and for Stampin' Up! Purposes, it means create and share everything, because we like to inspire people, and when we create projects, we like to show everybody what we've made so we can inspire you to make your own or even copy ours. The other way you can use the acronym CASE, C-A-S-E, is copy and selectively edit. So that means, like I just said, you see something you like, you copy it, and you might change a few things up, might change the color of something. Maybe you don't have the same stamp set, so you use a different stamp set. You might just use the layout of the card that you saw and change it to work for you. As I mentioned already, you can click on the links in the description to go see what the other demonstrators participating have made from the catalog, and they've changed up. I will also list the products I'm using in this demonstration below, so if you want to purchase any of those items, you can see what items I used. Contact your demonstrator. If you are in New Zealand and don't already have a demonstrator, you're welcome to go to my site, michellekirchley.stampinup.net, and you can contact me to order directly. I also have a blog, papercraftaddiction.blogspot.co.nz, which I have lots of other inspirational things there for you. And the video I did last month for the Global Monthly Video Hop, at the end of it, I've also shown some projects that I cased from the Celebration catalog for the Hippo, which was available as a free item during Celebration. So if you want to see other case projects, have a look there. So for this one here, this is our Stampin' Up! Mini Catalog, July to December 2022. And on page 64, there's the Splendid Day Suite. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to case this card here. Normally I have one sample card to show you, and then I show you step by step how to do it. But because I'm casing a card, I'm going to show you the original project that was in the catalog, and I'm going to change it up and explain step by step how I'm doing that. So this one is using the Splendid Day Suite with designer series paper, using the dies, and you can see there's a bit of vellum with some of the dies there, as well as the stamping embossing on the cardstock. So I'm going to change that up and turn it into a Christmas card. So, and with this one, I'm not sure if you can see very well in the video here, but the paper used has foil on one side, so it's shiny on one side, and matte on the other side. And they've got 12 images here, I think. 12 die cuts there, and they've used both sides, so they have shiny and not shiny. I'm going to change that a bit. On the following page 65, if you like that paper, it's right there, and that's called the Splendid Day Specialty Designer Series paper, and it's called Specialty because one side is shiny. Now I'm going to use a specialty paper today, and I am going to use the dies, which are the Splendid Stem dies, for this project as well, and I'm going to use the soft seafoam ribbon, which is shown on this, but I'm going to change that up, and I'll explain more in a minute. So the paper I'm using, which can be seen down here, is the Lights Aglow Specialty Designer Series paper. That's the Christmas one. And that paper you can find on page 31 of the mini catalog. So here it's showing all sizes. This is 6 by 6 inch paper. The project I'm copying used 12 by 12, but it doesn't matter because you're only using a small section of it. But it is a specialty, so it is, one side is matte and the other has some glimmer on it. So that's the paper I'll be using, which is shown here. And as I said, I'm using the Splendid Thoughts stamp set, and I'm going to use the dies, the Splendid Stems dies, and that's the dies there. So there's some dies that will cut out some images from that stamp set, like the bee and a couple of the floral designs, but a lot of them just cut out outlines, which was shown in that vellum part. And then we have this really interesting half circle die. So it cuts, and it has some embossing lines and some little dots that it cuts out. So it has a really nice image to it. I'll set those aside for now. So let me show you this paper. So one side is matte, and it has various colors. If you don't already know, on your packaging, it tells you what colors they use for the paper. So we've got our basic black, cherry cobbler, evening evergreen, soft succulent, and then these have some very vanilla in them, as well as those other colors that I mentioned. So this side is matte, so you can see it's just plain, but it has lots of interesting images, and you do get a few that are the same image in different colors. So we've got the black, we've got the cherry cobbler, and the soft succulent, and then some of the sparkly ones. And then if I turn it over, there we go. Aha. Try not to drop it. So, if you can hopefully see that shimmer? So this one has the bokeh dots in the background, but it's kind of, this way I think it looks like lightning. This way I think it looks like a tree. So there's shimmer there. Did I get the same? Oh, yep, sorry, those two are the same. I'll have to find the other one. And there's some shimmering there. I chose this set because you get 48 sheets of 4 sheets of 12 different designs. So they're double-sided, but there's 12 separate sheets of different designs. So that way I can have a completely different design for each part of the card, because the card, as I mentioned, has 12 of these half circles. So I'm actually going to make it with the shiny side showing up. And then these two are quite interesting because you could cut sections out and then put your sentiment or image in the middle of those. So you've got cherry cobbler and soft succulent with the shimmering. This one has the shimmering little like snowflakes or stars. This one and this are very similar. And then we've got, can't tell until, there you go. You can see a bit of the shimmer. So the gold dots on this shine, and that side is just matte. And then we have the shining snowflakes. And again, the shimmering snowflakes or stars. And I think this one looks more like a starry sky. And that was the one I was missing. Oh, Christmas trees. So the back of that is bokeh dots. So you have bokeh dots showing up in all 4 colors. And then this one has the trees. Okay. So there's 12 of those. And to save time, I've already die cut this image on them. And the nice thing with the image, because it's see-through, you can decide what part of the paper you want. So, you know, I wouldn't suggest going straight in the middle, but you can decide, like looking here, how much of the green versus shimmer is showing up. And you can turn it around to decide which part of the paper you want to cut. And that can get you the best image. And so, like here, I've cut part of that starry red section, and then it comes out looking like that. So from this piece, you would never know that there was a big circle there. And then the same with the soft succulent, which is the same type of paper. I decided to cut the section up the top, so I got a little bit of the stars going across, and it almost looks like a line of stars was meant to be there, when in fact it's just a section of the square that I cut out. So that's the nice thing with being able to see through the die. And then everything else I just cut them from a convenient corner. So let's, oh yeah, and then the two that were a bit unusual. So this one, I just wanted to have a lot of the sparkly in there, so I cut it from that section of the tree lightning piece. And then for here, I cut a section down at the bottom of the tree, again, to get more stars showing up. So the other thing I've got is I've got my base card, my normal A5, which cut half of the piece of A4 to make A5, score it in the center at 10.5 centimeters to make a standard card base. And then I've got two very vanilla pieces, one for the inside and one for the front, because there's very vanilla in the die cut pieces. I've already gone and using gold foil die cut those outline images that I showed from the dies. So I'm not sure which or how many of these I'm going to use, but there's 5 that come out like that. So instead of using vellum like the card that I'm casing, I'm using gold. So I'll decide when I put it together how many of those to do. And then for the sentiment, unlike the one in the catalog, let's get back to my original. So here it's Today is a Day to Remember, which comes from the Splendid Day set. I've decided to do in gold embossing, which I've already done on black, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, which comes from the Kindest Gnomes stamp set. So it's that stamp there. So I've already done that, and that way I can bring in the color scheme there. Now, to make things quicker, I have gone ahead and stamped for the inside of the card. There you go. So from this, I stamped this outline stamp there in the Evening Evergreen, and then this stamp that gives you a bit of shading in the Soft Succulent. Now that stamp is not meant to match up. As you can see, there's far more leaves here than is on that stamp, so it's not meant to match up. It just gives you a bit of an accent. And then I brought in the Cherry Cobbler with the words Let's Celebrate, which is from that stamp set as well. So I've already stamped all that for you. And that's for the inside of our card. And then the outside of the card, I have another piece of Very Vanilla. This original card, they used basic white on the background. So now I'm going to glue down my different sections onto here. But I won't glue it on the card base because I'm going to have to trim around away the edges. So as I mentioned, I've cut 12 of these out, so I am going to mix and match. Now you could just use the matte side without the shimmer, but I like the shimmer. The original card had some with the shimmer and some without, but I don't want to lose the shimmer. So this is basically the design I've come up with. That gives you a little bit of everything. And I think the best way to do it is to start in the middle and work my way out. Actually, I think when I start in the middle, I'm going to start the end bits, and then that will determine how much of a space I put in the center. Something like this, using the liquid glue, the Tombow, is very handy because it'll give you wiggle room to adjust things. So if you're really picky and you want to make sure that it's exactly in the middle, you could take your ruler and make a pencil mark and put a dot in the center, or draw some light lines so you know that you've got it centered. But I'm just going to eyeball it, just checking I've got the right card. So we'll just, actually there's some marks on that side, we'll go this side. Just going to put some glue on these bits and stick them down. So that's one thing I love about Stampin' Up, is it's such a giving and caring organization, because people create designs and they don't worry if somebody wants to copy their design, because they do say, you know, flattery is the imitation is the highest form of flattery. And quite often we have a demonstrator website, Facebook page, that we can share ideas, not just with cards, but other ideas on running your business and how to do certain things, etc. But yeah, it's a wonderful company because of that, willing to share everything. So I am just going to put that there and check that we're pretty close. So I can just slide that over a little bit. So now that I got my center, I was using the red card as a as a ruler, because it has a straight edge. Okay, so those ones I want flush there, and these two I'm going to put in the middle. But as you can see, they're not going to touch the edges, so I'm going to leave a gap between them. And I'll just put a bit of glue and just gently set that one down while I get the other one ready. I'm not going to push it down totally, because I want to make sure I've got similar gap between them, as well as making sure they're over. See, that one I think I've got too far over there. There we go. So once you're happy with your alignment, then you can just press it down. So I think that's straight. Looks a bit crooked. It's hard to do these on camera because I'm standing up and it's a bit further away. There we go. So how's that look? Now I'm just going to fill in the other sections. And I'm going to start at the top. Now I'm not going to put glue all the way to the edge, because that's going to hang over the side. So just a bit. Now I mentioned in the die how you have the embossed and then you have the little dots. You see that? So hopefully you can see we got some dots coming here, and then it's just an embossed line above and below. Quite an interesting die. So I can pop that over as close to the other side as I want. And then I'm just trying to get the top to touch. I can turn it over just to check where it's sitting. Trying to get it straight. And then again, so now I know that's how much is hanging over the edge, so I can go closer to that edge. I think I'll do the bottom like I did the other one. That way I can make sure I have the same gap in the center. So you can do this with any designer series paper, and if you don't have a set like this Christmas one that has so many sheets in it, the Light's Aglow, because it has 12 different images. But if you don't have a set with 12 different images, you can just flip them over and just use partial images. You know, use one side like on the original card where it has the matte side and the shiny side, or you could just use any designer series paper you want to use. So I'm just going to gently set that there, so if I have to adjust it, I can. And I'll slide that one over there. And that way I can give it a bit of space. Okay, I think that's looking good. So see how I've got a little bit of space there? And then the same thing here. It's always good to double check before you stick it down. Oh. I'm a big DIYer, do it yourself, another acronym, which is a big thing here in New Zealand. Lots of people here, because being an island country, sometimes, you know, you can't get what you need, or it's going to take too long, so you just figure out how to do things yourself. I've been doing my renovations myself. So you just figure out ways to do things. There we go. And with that, I have learned, you know how they say, measure twice, cut once kind of thing? Well, I have also learned to plan it out first before you stick it down. So you might think, oh, that looks good, and once you glue it down, then you might have difficulty. But there are tricks and tips for peeling things off once they're glued down, especially if you use double-sided tape. I think I might have done a video about that about a year or so ago. One of the tips on removing, the trick to that is using dental floss. So that looks pretty good. Okay. Might slide that down a little. There we go. You might not be able to see what I'm doing, but just sliding those all into place. Maybe a bigger gap there than I want. But it is a handmade card, so if the gaps aren't exact, no big deal. So there you go. Then you turn it over and you trim off your little excess bits. So we'll get our snips. If you have a cutter or a guillotine, you could do this, but it's easy enough just to trim off the little excess bits there. And see, this side I have it over more because, see, those pieces are bigger, but it doesn't matter. So that means I didn't center my sections. That's all good. And you could keep these little extra bits for something else if you want. Making things with scraps is great. So let's start gluing things together. So I've already stamped my inside, and I'll use my tear and tape. I like to use tear and tape on the straight sections. It doesn't really matter. You don't need to have the wiggle room of using liquid adhesive. But I also do my little tabs. Try to use a sharp edge to help pull up the cover on the tape. And I've got my tabs sticking out. Make sure your fold's going the correct way and stick it down. So this section doesn't have any adhesive on it, so I can push on there and get it adjusted into the area that I want it to go. And then the part that's pulled up's got the adhesive, so I can press down those corners. And if I find I've done it wrong, I can easily pull it up and it's only stuck down on one corner. And then pull those tabs out. Nice. I like those colors, nice and Christmassy. Okay, so this one I'm going to stick down as well. Being the front of the card, I'm going to add a little, going to go around all four sides just to make sure it stays in place. And so you could change this card up and make it into, for any occasion you want, just by changing the sentiment, because even though this is Christmas paper that I'm using, it doesn't matter. It's, you know, just shimmery paper. It's not obviously Christmas. Even the piece that had the Christmas trees on it, the section I cut out, you would never know it was a Christmas tree piece. So you could just put any sentiment you want, and you could do the background in any color. I just picked out the cherry cobbler from the center here. That's the way around I want it. So again, check your fold if you have a direction that you want your card to sit. And get my corners looking good, and just peel up my tabs. And then just give it a nice gentle press. So now, I said I was using the soft succulent ribbon, which I am, but there's no soft succulent in this design, and it sort of gets lost in there because it's so light. But a tip for you is you can actually color any of your light ribbon to a different color. So I used my Stampin' Blends, my soft succulent Stampin' Blends, and I use the dark, it comes in a light and a dark pen, and the brush end, and I've just brushed over that. Make sure you do it on some scrap paper. So I just put it over the scrap paper and use the brush end, and being the alcohol based pens, it dries really quickly, and it makes it permanent. So now I have a color that will better go with the card that I'm doing. If you don't have the Stampin' Blends, the alcohol based, you can run this through your ink pad, or you can use your Stampin' Write pens, which are water based, but you have to leave time for it to dry. And then the other thing too is if the ribbon were to get wet, it would run. But this being the alcohol based, it's permanent once it's dry. So now I'm just going to snip off the end bit. I also like to do my ribbon on the roll so I don't waste as much. I don't take a big section off and then tie bows and things afterwards. I like to do it on the roll, but I already measured that out. And for this, as shown in the card, hopefully you can see that, there's the ribbon behind there, and then there's our little die cut pieces, which here it's in vellum, so it's very subtle. But for this card, I'm making it more stand out a bit more. So I've got my ribbon to go there and my words to go on top. So I'm just trying to figure out how long I want my ribbon to be. So for this card, I'm basically copying pretty much the entire design and just changing out the color scheme. Now I'm just going to snip this back a little. So I'm just changing out the color scheme. But other cards, you might find people will case them by taking the layout of the card and changing it completely. So the card might have a sentiment and an image and something else, and they'll put an image here, sentiment somewhere else, so they're using kind of the same elements but changing up completely. They might use the same stamp set and change it up completely. So looking at this, I'm going to fix the ends up on my ribbon, make them a bit neater. There we go. And the best way to attach ribbon is with tape, because glue will seep through, and it might also discolor, especially like if you did use the water based method for coloring your ribbon. Liquid might make the color seep through. So I'm just going to put part of that there, and then I'm going to put a little more tape just on that bigger section. Most of this tape will be covered when I put the sentiment on there. So Another little tip for you there. And when you are putting things on your card, keep in mind if it's going to be sent in the mail, how it's going to sit. Like if things are sticking out too far, it might not fit in the envelope. Okay, so I'm going to have the words going there, but before I put them down, I want to put my background pieces on. So I'm kind of looking at the original design and trying to think what I want to put where. And this will be hidden by my sentiment. The other nice thing with putting your sentiment on and deciding where to put your sentiment is if there's something you don't like in the design, or maybe you were stamping something and you got a smudge somewhere, that's where sentiments and placement can cover things up. Okay, I'm thinking that's a bit too heavy on that side, so I might put that one. So this one I think just looks way too big, so I've decided not to use that. I could snip parts of it off if I want. Again, I'm thinking that's okay. So now I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the larger sections of these. Don't have to worry about gluing the whole thing down, because unless somebody wants to really pull at your card, it should be fine. But I'm just, so those bigger sections that can take the glue, I've put there, and I'm just going to stick this. So the stem is going to be kind of hidden. And this part as well, just on the bigger sections. Bit of glue to hold it in place. So with this one, the gold really makes it stand out. I could have done the vellum for these pieces, but I think it would get a bit lost because this is more of a dark, bold card versus the pastel one that I was copying. Yeah. And so again, just a bit of glue on those thicker sections, just to hold it down, because the sentiment will hold it in place as well. So I'm going to pop this down a bit more. If you're starting to get sticky fingers like I am, because you're putting on small things, use your block to push it down. That's why some of my videos, when you see me stamping and the blocks are dirty, that's because I use them for this, because you can just wipe that off. You need to clean your block. I do have a video about that. Believe it or not, the best thing to clean it is hand sanitizer. So you can clean your hands and your block all at the same time. And then this little guy. I might put that one a bit closer so you can see more of the paper. That guy about there. And as I said, the liquid glue doesn't go very well on the ribbon, but that's going to be hidden behind. But I'll just give it a good press. Okay. And then I'm going to pop up my sentiment with some dimensionals. And being a black cardstock, it's a perfect time to use your black dimensionals. So if you weren't already aware of it, dimensionals from Stampin' Up, and the reason they're called dimensionals is they give a bit of height and dimension to your item that you're sticking down. They come in the normal size, which is like that, and then you can cut and use all the edge pieces, and they fit perfect size for most items. And you can get them in the mini, so those are much smaller than the normal size. And you can get a pack of black. The black actually comes with mini and full size in the same pack. So that's great because sometimes when you're sticking things down, you don't want the dimensional to be seen through. Like if I was sticking some black die cut that had a little open area, the black will help to hide that. So I'm just going to pop this sort of above those sections. There we go. And just need to add some bling. So there we go. So the bling, I could add some gold, or I was thinking I might add some of the in color opal rounds. Let's see how they look. On the original card, it has some sequins around. So this one, I'm thinking maybe some of these dark opal rounds. Just to give a bit of interest. And it's always good to do your bling in odd numbers, so 3s, 5s, 7s. And they say that it should be like in a triangular look, so I think maybe down here. There we go. Okay, I'm not sure if I like the opal rounds or if I should actually put some little gold dots around it, but that is my cased card. So I copy and selectively edited a card from the catalog. So that's the casing the catalog. And there we go. That was the original card I was looking at on page 64. And that's the card I came up with. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And so it used some of the stamp set and the dies as shown in the original one, but different paper and different colors. So that's how you case the catalog, and that's what the catalog is there for. It's your window into the products, but with lots of lovely ideas. You can copy them exactly as you see them, or you can change them up. So please use your catalog to full advantage that way. If you are in New Zealand and don't have a catalog and don't talk to your demonstrator, if you don't have your demonstrator, again, go to my website, contact me, and I can send you out a catalog so you can see all the products, get ideas, inspiration, etc. from that. And again, this was the Splendid Thoughts Splendid Day set with the dies. So make sure you look at the description below and click on those links to go over to the other demonstrators and see what wonderful projects they have cased from the catalog. I can't wait to watch them as well and get more ideas on things to make. Thanks so much for watching that, and please give me a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to see some more videos in the near future. Bye!